Hi everyone and good morning. A very warm welcome to your new journey at UNSW Science. I'm Renee York, Student Experience Officer for the Faculty of Science, and I'm your host for today's event, the Term 3 2021 Science Faculty Welcome. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the Bedigal people who are the traditional custodians of the land of our main UNSW Sydney campus. I also recognise the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm presenting from today, the Dharawal people, along with the custodians of the different lands upon which you may be joining us from today. I pay my respects to all of these elders, past, present and emerging, and recognise the ongoing contribution that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people make to science and education in Australia. I'd like to acknowledge you all for taking the time to join us this morning. We hope this welcome event will give you a better understanding of what studying science at UNSW will be like and what to expect from your time here. After we hear from some key people in the faculty today, we will hand over the reins to you to answer your questions with a Q&A panel. The panel will have science staff and current students, so you can ask your questions related to studying science or life as a UNSW student. You can pop your questions in the chat at any time throughout the event, and you'll also see a bunch of questions that we've prepared earlier. But if you have a different question, then please send it on through. You can also vote for your favourite questions by clicking on the thumbs up button next to the question. We'll answer the most popular questions first, so make sure you vote for your favourite questions. It is now my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Professor Scott Cable, the current Head of School for Chemistry and Acting Deputy Dean Education in the Faculty of Science. Scott has a PhD from Griffith University, followed by postdoctoral research at Cornell University. After a short stint in industry with Procter & Gamble in London, he started his independent academic career at the University of Sydney in 1992. In 2014, he moved to UNSW as a research professor and was appointed head of school in 2015. Professor Cable is the classic teaching and research academic. As a researcher, Professor Cable studies fundamental chemical reaction dynamics, especially with relevance to atmospheric chemistry. His research group have discovered new chemical pathways that improve our understanding of important atmospheric processes, such as climate change, ozone depletion and pollution. He has been recognised many times for his contributions to science, most notably from the Australian Academy of Science and the Royal Australian Chemical Institute. He has also won the Vice-Chancellor's Teaching Award 4 times at the University of Sydney and University of New South Wales, as well as multiple national teaching awards. Scott is very excited to formally welcome you all to our faculty, so without further ado, I will pass over to Scott. Thanks, Scott.
Renee, thanks very much. I'm talking to you from Gadigal land. It's interesting to watch the increasing attention and well-deserved attention on Indigenous culture and Indigenous science as we learn much more about the scientific exploits of our Indigenous people. Gadigal land, of course, immortalised in the recent song by Midnight Oil. Look, O Week is a very special time. I remember my own O Week really clearly. It's one of those formative times in life. My daughter went through O Week just a few years ago. I got to see it from the other perspective and remind myself she has just enrolled in a postgraduate degree, so I can also somewhat relate to those of you who are at O Week at this presentation today, looking at postgrad degrees. I understand that about half of you are connecting in here from overseas and about half from Australia, and I also understand that about 3/4 of you are enrolling in an undergraduate degree, and I would guess that's for the first time for most of you, and about 1/4 of you are enrolling in postgraduate degrees, so you're returning to further your higher education. Let me just advance a slide here because education is a journey. Thank you, whoever interrupted there. It's a continuous journey, but it's got discontinuous steps in it. Okay, I don't seem to have control, so if someone can go back one slide for me, that would be great. Thank you. It's a continuous journey. The discontinuities are really milestones in your lives. If you think back, if you can even remember before school, your educational mentor were your parents. At some stage, they pass you on to primary school, and you've probably got lots of photos of you with your first little school uniform right on the front steps heading off to school. And there your education is taken over by a teacher. The teacher is an education specialist, but a generalist in terms of what they teach you. You typically have the same teacher for English and maths and science and art. As your education journey continues and your expertise starts to get deeper, then the mentors that teach you themselves get more expert. At high school, of course, you have subject teachers then in mathematics or languages or whatever the subjects were that you chose. And of course, in high school is the start of the separation of your journey from your friends. At primary school, you're in the same class with all your friends all the time. At high school, you start to separate. Some of your friends who may not be scientists like you are off taking classes in languages, classes in history, and you get together for some of the other compulsory classes like English. Your specialization continues at undergrad, and there's another different learning style change. So you're all at this red arrow, or 3/4 of you are at this red arrow, and then some of you are at the next, what I would call quantum step. My background is in quantum chemistry, so I like using the word quantum all the time, a discontinuous step in your education journey. And undergraduate, one thing I'd like you to think about now is that this is the stage where the responsibility for the education becomes yours. This is a transition from an environment where the teachers take responsibility for your education. If you don't do your homework, if you don't hand an assignment, you'll be chased up for that. In an adult learning environment, the responsibility is yours. You're doing this now because you want to. Nobody's forcing you to come to university. You want to learn, you want a career in this field in some respect. And that's a very different process. I say this with no aspersions on any of you, but some of you will struggle for those coming in for the first year or so. It is just so different to be thinking about your own individual decisions. With that comes an enormous amount of the choices. So the choices you had at high school were a couple of dozen different subjects probably. It's just phenomenal how many different subjects you can take at university. There are fields of science that you haven't even heard of, and you'll come in and you will explore the journey through here. Let's see if I can advance this one slide. If one, thank you. This journey, I like this figure here, which everyone likes to think success is a straightforward journey from the start to the finish. Success, especially these days, is much more a tangled web of trying different choices and different options. When you're at university, don't be afraid to try something new, right? Take a subject just because it sounds interesting. I can reflect back on my own undergraduate degree, and my study in quantum chemistry is simply because I took a subject. Actually, it was because I didn't like the subject I'd enrolled in and thought, oh, I don't like that. That one sounds interesting. I took that and it became my career, right? Get out there and explore. Not every decision you take will be the right one, but that's part of the exploration, right? All of the explorers in history made wrong turns to find new territory for themselves. The science faculty is very broad across all the subjects that you'll get to take and also across all of our research. I'm not going to try and advance this slide. I'm going to ask the technical people in the back to advance the slide for me. Thank you. As soon as I click that, it bombs out into the overall view. Science in the faculty is really broad, and I'm going to use an analogy of size, a dimension scale here. It ranges from the subatomic quantum world of Michelle Simmons and quantum computing. It works its way up through molecules. I'm a molecular chemist, but we also have, you might have heard in the press, the announcement of a new state government collaboration with 4 universities in the Sydney Basin and a number of hospitals in an RNA institute. And of course, RNA technology is really well known now with mRNA vaccines. So there's a brand new RNA institute announced only a week ago, headquartered at UNSW, actually headquartered in my own school. We do work on cells and microorganisms, which is closer to Rebecca Labard's field, who I'm going to introduce to you after this. Animals, we do research on whales. I was interested to hear Emma Johnston, our Dean, talk about one of the research projects in Whale Snot. You can see we research everything here. It extends up to planetary science. We have probably Australia's best climate change institute, one of the best climate change institutes in the world, actually, with absolutely cutting edge research there. And that extends all the way through galaxies. We have a very strong astronomy department as well, looking for some of the most fundamental questions that we could possibly pose, like is there life on other planets? And we have people doing research that, looking for planets in other galaxies, planets in other solar systems, and trying to find molecular signs of life on those planets. The researchers in the faculty produced over 3,000 papers last year, even with the COVID epidemic raging on. And why might that interest you, right? Research might seem like it's way further, that educational quantum change even further, but actually it's not as far as you might think. We open up the research labs to undergrads from first year, actually. From the end of your first year, you can, if you choose, come and take a research experience. We call that research integrated learning, and all through your undergraduate degree, you can come in, and we publish papers here with undergraduates on them. I had an undergraduate about 3 years ago, and as a result of her work, she has her name on a scientific publication already. Not only research integrated learning, as part of your undergraduate degree, you can undertake what we call work integrated learning. You can go to a company and you can actually work as an intern, or you can work as part of your course in work integrated learning programs that operate through the faculty. I encourage you to look at all of these different opportunities that university offers. If you could flick to the next slide, please. Thank you. It's not all about work. University is all about making connections with people who have a whole lot of other things in common. I think there's about 300 student clubs on campus, 15 of which are directly in science. I know about SciSoc, the Society for Science Students. There's an Advanced Science Society. There's MathSoc, PsychSoc, which is psychology, ChemSoc, which is the Society for Chemistry Students in my own school, etc. I encourage you very strongly to have a look at all of these different societies. There are sports societies. Volleyball club is the club that I'm associated with. And there are societies for music, societies for all sorts of things. Again, with 300 of them. Go have a look, go meet people. I'm sorry that we're not on campus right now. The societies are doing their best in an online environment. It's hopeful that we'll get on campus. We're really hoping we can even get you on campus this term if you're in Australia. And if you're not in Australia, we really hope that the borders will be opening up by the end of the year. The political science, I've become quite good at reading the political tea leaves. I've had 14 close escapes on border closures over the last 18 months, just getting across borders with as little as 5 minutes to spare before borders close. My reading of the tea leaves is there's a lot of impetus to actually open up the city, the country, and the university. I am in discussion with the top leaders of the university, and they're talking about, if the government lets us, to let students back on campus as early as Flexibility Week, which is only 7 weeks' time. We'll see. I can't promise anything. We can only hope that we can all get back together as well. The educational quality of the faculty is outstanding. We had our best teacher student reviews for many, many years, and the best course reviews in just the last term, despite COVID. I want to welcome you to UNSW. A career in science is a fantastic career. It's even more opportunity now for all of you than even when I was going through. STEM is the future. A degree in science will open so many doors for you. It opens doors in general graduate entry programs. If you do a 3-year science degree, I would call you a generalist scientist at this stage. We teach you to critically think. Our biggest employers are probably the banks and the public service for a 3-year graduate. There's also huge career opportunities for 4-year and further graduates, degrees in science. Where you're actually practicing the discipline usually comes after an honours degree in my experience. Look, with that, I'm going to actually pass you on to somebody who understands your degree much more than anybody else. Rebecca Labard is a biologist by training, with expertise in drug-resistant bacteria. But she's now, I think, would be calling herself an education specialist. She's one of the best teachers around the faculty and carries the portfolio of Associate Dean, it's a long title, Education, Innovation and Student Experience. But what that really means is that Rebecca knows intimately about things about the student experience, about all the offerings and the degrees that we have. With that, Rebecca, over to you.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you to all of you for joining us here at the moment. Just going to, I can see everyone's pictures really lovely. No, I can see everyone's pictures very lovely, and I can see my slides very tiny. That's better. Okay, so thank you, everyone. So welcome to the Faculty of Science and welcome to UNSW. So UNSW is divided into faculties. So we have art, design and architecture. We have business, law and justice, engineering, medicine and health, and of course the Faculty of Science. You will have the opportunity to interact a little bit with some of these other faculties. The way faculties are structured is that each faculty has a dean, and the Faculty of Science is led by our Dean, Professor Emma Johnson. Our faculties are then divided into schools. So you heard mentioned earlier that Scott is also the head of school for chemistry. So these are the different schools that we have within the Faculty of Science. We have 8 schools: aviation, biological, earth and environmental sciences, this which also has a long title, biotechnology and molecular sciences, chemistry, maths and statistics, materials science and engineering, physics and psychology. We also work closely with our friends from the Faculty of Medicine and Health and the School of Medical Sciences there, and you may have courses there if you're in the Med Sciences program or depending. That's our faculties and our schools. So within faculty, who are some people and where are some places that you may need to know? Probably the people that you will come to know the most are your demonstrators and tutors. And these are the academics who teach you in small groups, whether that's on campus or online, and you spend usually a couple of hours with them each week. You'll then have lecturers who typically teach larger groups depending on your course size that you will get to meet. And then you have course conveners. So as you choose different courses, each course will be administered or run by a course convener, and you'll be able to identify who they are from your course outlines. And they're your contact for many of the questions that you may have related to courses. Our courses are run by the different schools. So some of the people that make decisions about those courses may be your director of first year. So that is the person who looks after all the first year courses within a faculty such as school such as physics. A director of teaching who looks after all the courses in that school. And sometimes there may be specific reasons you have to contact a school office for information also. And again, that information would be in your course outline. Within the faculty, well, you've met Scott, the Acting Deputy Dean of Education, and myself. We'll talk through the nucleus, which is where you can go for advice specific to academic questions. So we have science students advisors there. I've got another slide on that coming up. But first, let's learn the language of our sort of timeline as you go through UNSW. So we have said welcome to term 3 because your study is divided into 3 terms. We do have some courses that are run in a more intense mode during summer, and we do have some programs that run on a slightly different timetable for some postgraduate courses. So a program is what you study. So if you are asked your program, you might say Bachelor of Life Sciences. And a degree is what you get at the end of that program when you graduate. So there's some of the terms that we use. 3+ is our academic calendar. So there's the 3 terms plus a few other things such as our summer term. You can see here we're in term 3 going from September to December. Our term, we're in the red area on the image at the moment, which is our orientation week. You'll have 10 weeks of learning, which includes week 6, a flexibility week, where you have no classes and you have time to either catch up, get ahead, or work on some assessments. You'll then have a short study period before our exam time commences. And you can see that the grey period blacked out where we have a university shutdown over the Christmas and New Year public holidays before our summer term, or most of you will be coming back in term 1. So I mentioned that you have a program and that is made up of courses. So within your program, you will have some core courses. Those are the key specialised things that you need to know. If it's aviation, obviously there's some specialised information that you have to know there. You will also have some electives where you get some choice within the program on what you do. And then you have general education, and that's a really fun thing we offer at UNSW, where you get to choose some courses outside of your faculty. So you may do philosophy or something in design, and that really gives you a broad area of education. And it's where, as Scott mentioned, you may find some other interests that you have. Each course has a value, and this is measured in units of credit, and these count towards your degree. So we may vary in the amounts of credit you need in your major, for example, but you're working towards a total amount. All of this information can be found in the UNSW handbook. So I really recommend you take a look. You probably have already as you're thinking of enrolling. This will have information on your program. It will list your core courses, electives. You can choose your gen eds by looking up different courses within that. Another important place for you to look through is My UNSW. And the My UNSW website, I really recommend you have a look through at all the different links to various sources of information. You can get your academic calendar here, your exam timetable when it comes out. You can access special consideration, see when the terms are, a whole range of different things, even a link to the handbook that we just talked about. So I really, again, recommend you go to My UNSW and have a look at all the different places you can navigate through to. We really recommend that you frequently check your UNSW email to stay connected with us, particularly in the dynamic time that we're in at the moment. You would have been given a UNSW email address, which starts with a Z, and then it has your ZID number, and that is the email to check and use. We ask that you use this email when you send any communication to someone at the university. It allows us to verify that you are who you say you are, and it allows us to have particular information we may need to check before answering your questions. So use your UNSW account. It says here good etiquette. And what I say to my students is take the time to write the email that you would like us to take in responding. So use your full name. Your lecturer may lecture into a number of different courses. So say which course you are or your program, and give your student ID so that we can quickly and effectively respond to any questions that you may have. Another place to stay connected is to use the Science Student Notice Board. And this has a lot of information on events, competitions and opportunities. And again, these are the things that can really enhance your experience at UNSW beyond just the courses that you are studying. We have also this year launched SciConnect, and Renee and Violet were instrumental in this. And it is a place for our undergraduate UNSW science students to network. Some of our programs are very large, and this allows you to meet new people even while we're learning online. You can get advice, socialise. We've had trivia nights lately. This week we had morning yoga for students, getting used to getting up early again for term starting, and there's a lot more. So please visit it. You can use the MS Teams app and you can use this QR code. Some important dates for you to note as we go through. The 19th of September is the last day that you can add a new course. And the 26th of September is the last day that you can drop a course without a financial or academic penalty. So two big ones to remember because they come up a lot quicker than you expect. I mentioned the nucleus earlier and that we have science advisors that can give you specific information as you go through your program. So the nucleus in person is located in the entry of the UNSW library on campus, but obviously they are working online at the moment. So I've got on the slide some of the things that you may want to ask them about, particularly to do with course selection or transfer, timetable clashes and things like that. Anything you need help about that's not specific to the course that you are in or the course convener. So welcome to our diverse community. We really appreciate individuals. My oldest student so far I have taught is been 72. I'm in biological sciences, and when he finished school, they had not yet discovered the structure of DNA. So we have lots of different perspectives. You can recognise some of the different disciplines on this slide, like aviation and physics, and our friends in vision science from medicine and health. But beyond the differences in disciplines, we really appreciate the differences in knowledge and individuals, and we strive to put equity, diversity, inclusion as part of everything that we do. Another priority is our excellence in teaching, and we have a number of National Teaching Award winners. You may recognise one there. We also have Chris from Maths, Liz here from first year physics, who you may meet if you're doing that, Louise from biological sciences, Pramod from materials science and engineering, and Alistair from biology, earth and earth sciences. And we also have recipients to our university awards as well. As well as just learning discipline knowledge, we also want you to finish your UNSW with different graduate capabilities. And this means we want you to develop as a graduate who is a rigorous scholar, who is capable of leadership and capable of professional practice. So these different capabilities are embedded into every course that you do. And you can be assured that when you finish, you are ready for employment. As part of that, we also have amazing learning spaces. So on campus, we have modern facilities that have new technologies and equipment that's fit for purpose, whether you're interacting as a group or conducting some sort of scientific experiment. Currently, though, we're mainly online, although some of your teachers may be demonstrating things from campus. And we have a number of different platforms that you will be introduced to. Moodle is where your courses are based. So that is our learning management system. And you should have a Moodle course set up for each of your courses where you can get your course outline and more. Echo 360 is where many of our lectures are recorded. And then you may have other platforms that are used, such as Microsoft Teams, Blackboard Collaborate, or Zoom. And these will really depend on the purpose of that learning engagement. For help beyond your courses, we have a UNSW Learning and Careers Hub. So their physical place on campus is not open currently, but for learning support, we can offer academic support, a conversation cafe where you, if English is your first, not your first language, you can meet others to practice conversational English, and to get information on some of the other skills that you may find you want to enhance during your time. Elites is a particular online tutorial that we recommend, and you need to do that before the end of quiz 3. You can access it through the library and I think through my UNSW, and it outlines how to search for information, how to write academically, what is plagiarism and how to avoid it, and also directs you to other services on campus. As I said, excellence in teaching is one of our priorities, and we constantly ask our students for feedback using a My Experience survey, which you'll get at the end of each course each term. And this gives you the opportunity to provide feedback on your courses and your individual teachers. As Scott mentioned, we have performed really well as a faculty. You can see here our satisfaction rate for our courses and teaching last year, and this increased even further in term 2. And we also have award winners for different education awards that are voted for by our students over some years. The last thing I want to say is to be you on your journey towards your degree and your graduation. I guess your program are the core things that are like the cake, and you get to put the icing on and decorate it. So do many of the things that Scott mentioned. Have fun selecting your electives and your general education units. Take a work placement or the opportunity to participate in a research integrated learning experience. Join a social club or a society, enter competitions, connect with others on SciConnect, and have fun. So thank you so much for joining us. We ask that you put your questions in. I can see we've had so many already, so thank you so much for that. And I'll now introduce you to Violet, our Education Partnerships Manager, who's going to run our Q&A session with you.
Thanks so much, Rebecca. And hi, everyone. Really excited to be here today to host the Q&A section of this welcome event. So like we've said on the slide here, you can submit your questions through the panel in the Teams app. You're welcome to continue to submit questions throughout the Q&A session. And I also encourage you to upvote any questions that you really want to be answered, because we will do our best to answer the most popular questions first. Now, before we start with all of your wonderful questions, we'll just take a little bit of time to introduce. So we've already met Rebecca, so I won't have Rebecca introduce herself again. I might hand over now to Mitch from ARC to introduce himself to you all.
Thanks so much, Violet. Lovely to meet all of you. Welcome, welcome, welcome to UNSW. My name's Mitch. My pronouns are they, them. And my role at UNSW is the Director of Experience and Marketing for ARC at UNSW. ARC is your student organisation run by students for students, and we do a whole bunch of different things to make sure that your student experience is super awesome. We do all the cool stuff outside of the classroom, from clubs and societies, sport, events, volunteering, student wellness. So I'm looking forward to answering any questions that you have about non-academic things. I always learn so much about science at the Science Welcome, so I'm very grateful to our previous speakers, but I will not be giving you any additional information on science. I will leave that to the experts. Thanks, Vi.
Thanks so much, Mitch. I think I will hand over to Kai now. Kai, can you introduce yourself to everyone, please?
Yep. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm so excited for all of you to be starting your journey. So my name's Kai. So I'm a second-year student right now. I'm studying a Bachelor of Data Science and Decisions. So that's under Maths and Statistics. So I'm here to represent the UNSW Data Science Society. So we're a student society that's the constituent society for the degree of Data Science and Decisions. But as well as that, we love hosting events that are social or career or educational in nature, supporting people who are interested in data science and where it might take you in your career.
Thanks so much, Kai. I'll hand over to Zoe now. Zoe, can you introduce yourself to everyone, please?
Yep. Hi, a big welcome to our Term 3 orientation week. And in my second year of aviation management and graduate diploma in flying. I'm the representative of at UNSW Aviation Society, and ARC affiliated club at UNSW, and a networking platform for aviation students. The peer mentor of the society, making new undergraduates, like some of you, the transitions to university relaxing and enjoyable while providing academic guidance and support. And I've spent like 2/3 of my uni life mostly online. However, I think Aviation Society, or like most of the society, have organized like a lot of very interesting events. And for our society, we have organized events such as like plane spottings, careers expos, and aviation international study abroad programs. So I personally think that joining societies is the best way to meet and connect to people, especially online. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Zoe. And just to remind you all, we've also got Renee still on the line as well, so she might be pitching in with questions. With answers. Preferably, the panel will be answering your questions, not the other way around. So we'll kick off with the most popular question I can see in the chat here. So that's, how can I get relevant work experience during my UNSW program? Always a popular question. I might hand this over to Rebecca to answer that in a more general sense, and then perhaps one of our students might want to pitch in with any specific examples they might have. So over to you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Violet. I'm pleased Violet gave me this question, although I know it's something she is very passionate about herself, because it's been something we're really trying to enhance in the faculty at the moment. So as you go through towards your end of your second and third year, you have the opportunity to work industry learning placements. And we have, that means that you can go to a specific workplace and get experience on the job, so to speak, and get course credit for that. And we're also starting a new course that allows you to work with an industry partner as a group, as a more on-campus experience. So these are two types of examples where you can get that experience as you go through. And we also have some other resources on campus. So I talked about UNSW Careers, where you can go to learn about different employability skills and opportunities as well. Is there anything you want to add to that, Violet, before we go to our students?
No, Rebecca, I think that you covered that really well. So I might hand over to either Zoe or Kai if you want to share any of your specific experiences, whether that's a work placement or a research internship.
Yeah, I'm happy to kick this one off. So, sorry. So earlier in the year, I did an internship, and so my big advice, I've got a few pieces of advice in terms of how to sort of look for them. One is definitely check your email. Your ZID email gets really, really helpful things from the UNSW Careers Hub. So I would strongly recommend reading through those. As well as that, another piece of advice is to go to the website, the UNSW site for internships. So that's student.unsw.edu.au/internships. So have a look there. There's lots of really important and relevant information. And then my last piece of advice for like how to find particular types of internships. One really good source that I found is that the co-op program offers one-off internships that are roughly, 4 to 6 months in length. So have a look at their website. They've got really good information there. But yeah, just keep your eye out and, of course, ask questions if you've ever got them.
Thanks so much, Kai. Renee, do you have anything else to add to those responses from Rebecca and Kai?
Yeah, I might just do a quick shout out to another website that will be really helpful for you specifically studying science. So we have a current opportunities page in science. So if you want to have a quick look at that page on the website, just search current opportunities at science in UNSW. So we'll be posting a lot of opportunities that come up on that page as well. So keep your eye out on that. It's split into the different terms, so it's easy to see what's coming up. And that'll be a key source of information. Along with the student newsletter, we pop those opportunities in there, which comes out every Monday. So we just urge you to keep an eye on those and scroll down to the science specific part of the newsletter, and you'll see a lot of the opportunities on there as well.
Thanks so much, Renee. So I think we'll move on to the next question now. So the next most popular one is, what is the best way to meet and connect people with people in my program, especially online? So I think obviously our wonderful student panelists will be able to comment on this. So perhaps I will let Zoe kick off, and then I'll hand over to Mitch, who I'm sure will have something to add as well. So over to you, Zoe, first.
Thank you. To answer this question, I think the best way is to engage fully in your lectures, tutorials, as well as societies. I think UNSW's online classes are interactive, meaning that you can talk to your lecturers, tutors, and classmates very easily in real time. And it's always easier to raise questions and express your own thoughts virtually than face-to-face, as I've experienced. Also, I think you'll be able to meet like new mates during group projects or tutorial discussions. So make sure you have like your chat functions ready. And lastly, I think meet and connect people through ARC. And ARC is, as mentioned, is UNSW's Student Life Hub. And all activities are moved online now, so you can meet new friends and acquire new skills and have fun wherever you are. Thank you.
And thank you, Zoe. That's a perfect segue over to Mitch.
Thanks, Zoe. I 100% agree with all of those things. I think it's probably worth mentioning that when you start uni, you do need to make the effort to get to know people and to introduce yourself to people, and that is really scary and really hard. And that's a universal experience for everyone. It's never easy, but it's always really rewarding. And so, like Zoe suggested, you're going to get some great opportunities to meet people in your classes, but it does take your effort to say hello and to introduce yourself and to find a time to catch up with people or to study with them or grab their WhatsApp or their Instagram. So do make sure that you make that effort to do so. This week is also O week, so there's extra opportunities for you to orientate yourself and find your tribe, find different things that you want to get involved in and different social kind of landscapes you want to find yourself in. My hot tips for O week are that we have a Discord with all of the different clubs and societies that's available all afternoon today. You just go maybe to the ARC Facebook or website and you'll get a link for that. And you can kind of wander through all the different clubs and like introduce yourself to them, which is a really nice experience. And then after this session, you'll have your student life session, which is a great introduction to the Science Society and students that are involved in that. And then also this afternoon, there's lots of different speed friending, which is basically really fun, casual sessions where you can just like meet other people that aren't necessarily from science, but they're also eager to meet and make new friends as well.
Thanks so much, Mitch. Lots of great advice there, and sounds like it's quite a busy afternoon this afternoon with lots of social things going on, so that's great to hear. So we'll move on to the next most popular question now. So it looks like it's quite a specific one, so we might try and answer this in more of a general way. So it's really about credit transfer. So if you're transferring from another institution and want to transfer some credit to your UNSW transcript, how would you do that? So in general, those kinds of questions can be directed to the Student Hub. So the Nucleus Student Hub is kind of like your one-stop shop for any questions you might have about enrolment, credit transfer, student IDs, things like that. Rebecca, do you have anything to add to that?
No, that was on one of my earlier slides, I think. So I would definitely just go to the Nucleus first. So their website, I don't actually have it on me at the moment, but if you Google UNSW, the Nucleus, that will come up straight away and you'll be directed you can put your query in and then someone will come and contact you. So again, make sure to check your email after you've done that.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Rebecca. And a pro tip from me, because I've done this many times, when you search the Nucleus, remember to add UNSW because you'll end up with lots of information about nucleus, the biological term. So moving on to the next question, which is, for new students, will there be an official campus tour after lockdown? So I might hand this over to Mitch.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, there are tours that are happening virtually, and they will let you familiarize yourself both with the online landscape of UNSW, but also give you a few tips and tricks about what the physical campus looks like. When we do return to campus, depending on what that configuration looks like if we're back this term, we'll definitely run tours this term, but otherwise there'll be tours on in O Week T1 2022, and you're more than welcome to jump on those tours. They're not, you'll find them really insightful and interesting, and it is really important to find out where the best coffee on campus is. It is really important to know where the most preferred bathrooms to use for students are. There's heaps and heaps of tips and tricks. I guess the main thing that is probably worth noting now, and you can probably start training for, is that UNSW is a huge suburb and you will get very fit walking around campus. So if you do want to load your backpack up and start collecting up 10,000 steps a day, that's probably a really smart thing to start doing now.
Thanks so much, Mitch. And that actually reminds me of something you mentioned in a previous faculty welcome, that UNSW stands for You Never Stop Walking. And I still remember that, and I absolutely love it. So keep that in mind, everyone. You will be walking a lot when you're back on campus. So moving on to the next question. So it is related to IDs. So when do we apply for our ID? So I'm assuming it's the UNSW student ID. And what do we use until we receive our ID? So who would be the best person to answer this? I actually think it would be the Nucleus Student Hub. But I'll open the floor up to the rest of the panelists in case they have something to add there.
I might just jump in what I know is that you don't need an ID in an online environment. We know who you are, we know how to get in touch with you, and the university is really good at communicating with students and letting you know what stuff you do need to do. So you've got a student profile, which is on My UNSW. You can access all your academic stuff through Moodle. And once we return to campus, you'll get lots of information about how to register ahead of time to get a student ID card, where to go, what to do, how to make sure you look amazing, because that photo will haunt you forever. So you'll get all of that information. Don't worry about it now.
Thanks so much, Mitch. Great answer. So moving on to the next one, I'll just check the time. How are we doing for time? We're doing well. So the next question is quite specific, but I might try and answer this in more of a general way. So the question is around the future of astronomy and astrophysics in Australia in about 5 years. So look, in general, we know that STEM careers in general are on the rise, and there is a skills shortage in this area. We don't have any astrophysicists or astronomers on this particular panel today, unfortunately. But what I do recommend that you do, if you'd like to look at industry outlooks or job outlooks, is to go to the UNSW Science STEM Careers webpage. That has a lot of information around the different career paths that are open to STEM graduates, and will also link you out to government industry outlooks and job outlooks as well. Does anyone else on the panel want to add anything there?
I can say that we do have the Australian Centre for Astrobiology, and they do an excellent science communication course as well, which reminded me of one of our UNSW students, Kristen Banks, who is an excellent science communicator and often is a great one to follow. She often talks about her work and the future of astronomy, and is happy to answer lots of different questions in that area as well. So if you want to start meeting some of the, I guess, UNSW personalities in astronomy, that's someone that I would recommend looking up.
Amazing. Thanks so much for that, Rebecca. I completely forgot about her, so I'm so glad that you mentioned her. She's a great person to follow. So let's move on to the next question. So the next popular one is, what do those courses without specifying any offering term mean? Okay, I might have to translate this a bit. So I think this is around courses that you may find when you're looking up potential courses to enroll in. What happens, or what does it mean when it says it's not offered in any specific term? So it really means that the course isn't actually set up or being offered in any specific term yet. It might be offered in a term later on, perhaps next year or the year after, but at the moment when you're looking up that particular course, it's not being offered at this particular time. If you do have any further questions about it though, we recommend that you contact the Nucleus Student Hub and they'll be able to look into that specific course for you and hopefully let you know when it will be offered. Does anyone else on the panel have anything to add to that? Getting a few nods, so we'll sorry, shakes of the head, so we'll move on to the next question. So this is also a little bit of a specific one, but I think we can answer it in a more general sense as well. So the question is, for those students who are new to the school and also new to chemistry, is there a book or resource online you would recommend before starting the chemistry unit? So I think we could probably answer this more generally in terms of course outlines and maybe even textbooks and that kind of thing that you would need before your course starts. So perhaps I can direct this question to one of our students, Kai, for example, and then perhaps Rebecca, you might want to add to it.
Yeah, thank you so much. So my biggest advice for something like this is, while I'm not very chemistry focused, I will say a huge piece of advice is check out the Moodle pages for your courses. That not only do they show the course outline and assessment schedule for the term, but oftentimes they give you a really detailed list of pre-readings and prerequisite knowledges. So if you're looking for what kind of things you need to study up on before you start, I would really strongly recommend checking out the course pages for your Moodle, because the lecturer in charge will have put pretty much all of the information there.
Okay, was this the specific to chemistry one? So I guess I'll apply it to all your courses. Absolutely, go into Moodle for all of them, look at your course outline. There seems often in your first week that there's not much to do, or an O week, but the time you spend just becoming familiar with everything is something that sets you up for success later on. And so I would go and write down all those dates, know how to navigate to things pretty quickly, introduce yourself online to the places where you can, whether that's asking a question on a forum, going to SciConnect or something like that. So you start to build up sort of that core group of people that you can discuss your course with, and that may be even some of the external channels that some of them mentioned beforehand. Know how to use the library, so whether that's to find online textbooks or to do database searches. Because we're online, students can, it takes a little bit of time to learn things such as how to access papers that you may need to look up for a literature review online. So while you have time to navigate to some of those support places on campus, on our online campus, then I would do that.
Thanks so much, Rebecca. And Zoe, you mentioned in your introduction that you've spent most of your time at UNSW studying online. Is there anything that you would like to add?
Yep, definitely. I think for like blended and online classes, it's like the most important thing is like really time management. I know it's like all we know, like time management and stuff, but it's really important because you have to like allocate your time. Like for example, if you know that you'll have a class like later on, like on campus, you have to like prepare like yourself. But like if the class is on like virtually online, so you might have like a bit of time like to prepare and stuff. So really like be careful and cautious like when like the class is going on, and yeah, it's really the most important thing about it.
Thanks so much, Zoe, for adding your insights there. We'll move on to the next question, which is all about field trips. So do you expect field trips to be back in person by early next year? As much as I would love to have a crystal ball handy right next to me, I'm not entirely sure that we'll be able to say for certainty if field trips will be back in person by early next year. It will really depend on what the situation is in New South Wales. But be rest assured, once it's safe for us to have students either back on campus or back doing field trips, we will open that up for you. Rebecca, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, just that it was a decision. It is a decision that will be prioritised. So those that run field trips are really keen to bring them back, and they're typically for smaller sizes as well. So they possibly could be something that comes as a priority to some of our larger on-campus events. But we really hope to have them back as soon as possible.
Fantastic. Thanks, Rebecca. So flying through these questions, the next one is, what's the acronym USI, so Unique Student Identifier, and what is it used for? I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess you might be referring to your student ID. So every student, I think Rebecca might have mentioned this in her introduction, so every student has a unique ZID or student ID that we can easily identify you with, and it's really important that you include that in any emails that you might send to your lecturers or course coordinators, and also to the UNSW Student Hub, so that we can quickly respond to your query. You will probably end up remembering your student ID by heart well into your first year, because you will have to quote it quite a few times. So moving on to the next question, and I'll hand this question over to Rebecca. What's the percentage of mature age students currently studying a Bachelor of Science?
Thanks, Violet. So the percentage of mature age students varies across programs. So in the Faculty of Science, it's about 42%, but you have to keep in mind that that means a mature age student is defined as over 21. So about 42% across our science programs, and within the BSc, it's 36% that are over 21. Then if we look a little bit further from 26 to sort of 21 to 25, we have 54% of our students. Sorry, I said the 36 is over 21, I meant under 21. And then from older than that, we have smaller numbers. So we have between about 6% between 26 and 30. And then we have probably about 3% older than that. So those are breakdown by ages. So about, you could say, 36% under 21. The rest a mature age, but it depends on how old you're looking at. I would say, as I said earlier, my oldest student was 72, and I normally have in my classes, so in biology, quite I would say 2 handfuls of students that are coming back to university after another career. So there's always quite a few people you will be able to meet.
Thanks so much, Rebecca. I think we'll skip the next question on the list here, because we've already referred to advice around blended learning and online learning, but I might finish up. So this will be the final question, which will be a nice way to end the panel. What is the one thing you wish someone had told you during your first term of university? And so I'll hand over to Kai first and then to Zoe.
Yeah, so I definitely have one really strong one, and this is something that Zoe's actually said before as well. Get involved with student societies. That has completely transformed the way that I experienced uni. And, you know, the first term of my uni, or the first half of my year, was a little bit, I wouldn't, like, lonely is maybe a hard word, but, you know, I didn't really know much about what was going on. But joining a society meant that you get to meet people from years above you, or people who get to help you out. And for me, it was UNSW Data Science Society that really just like made my experience such an amazing one. But yeah, if anyone else has anything to add, go ahead.
Thanks so much, Kai. Zoe, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I can't agree more with Kai. So for me, I think UNSW Aviation Society has really made my uni life like so more important and meant so much for me. And there's one thing I want to add is that about the employment opportunities, that is the thing that I wish someone has told me before, and especially in my term, like year one, because I think, like, speaking of work experience, like there's a wide range of careers resources exclusive only to UNSW students. I remember like I applied an internship online, and I searched through UNSW careers, and like luckily I saw like the company I applied is actually holding an internship webinar on UNSW careers. So I've got the chance to like meet the current employees before my interview. And at that webinar, I also connected with a few current employees and like chat a bit and know what's their like roles and stuff. So I think it's really, really important and helpful, especially you're having like your first interviews, your first jobs, and UNSW is really trying to help us, and it's a really great resources that I think all of you won't want to miss out, especially on your first job hunting. Yeah, that's pretty much about it.
Great. Thanks for that advice, Zoe. That's fantastic. So unfortunately, that's all the time that we have today. I hope that we answered most of your questions there. Before I say farewell to you all, I just want to have one final thank you for all of our wonderful panelists for answering your questions. And I'd also like to highlight that the UNSW Student Society Science Student Society event is on now. So don't worry if you haven't RSVP, just use the QR code on the screen there to jump on over, and it's a great way to make friends and meet your fellow student colleagues. So that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that we can welcome you either in a virtual class or see you on campus at some point over the next few years. So thanks everyone, and enjoy the rest of your O week.